Thank you.
You're watching Camnet TV. Thank you so much for choosing us. My name is Sharon Kalimbola. The stories making headlines on our desk. Police fight with Patriotic Front cadres in KANYAMA after an attempt to disrupt HAKAINDE HICHILEMA's roadshow. Health authorities to impose stiffer health guidelines in view of the increased COVID-19 cases. KK hospitalized. And in international news, an officer and soldier in Equatorial Guinea are on trial for Farah's manslaughter. And in sports news, TEULINGS NETBALL gaining ground in Zambia. Let's take a breather. Join me shortly for the details.
Zambia has embarked on an economic journey for individual financial emancipation, empowering its citizens through land acquisition and developing the nation through agriculture. This time, Zambians are coming together, taking it upon themselves with the help of government to develop this great nation by taking individual responsibility and ownership of this great nation. The economic revolution has started. There are thousands of Zambians with a can-do mindset who are resolute, unstoppable, full of confidence and conviction that Zambia's set time of favor for development is now. Don't be left out. This could be the time you have been waiting for. Camnet Television, in conjunction with the United Agrivision Consultancy Limited, will be hosting a national conference on becoming a millionaire through agriculture. Date 1st October and 2nd October 2021. Charges 750 kwacha per person per day, that includes lunch. A limited number of participants through Zoom have also been reserved. You can also be part of the conference from the comfort of your home by registering online via Zoom, joining the people who were born for greatness. Charges for participation via Zoom are only 300 kwacha per person. Time 0730 hours to 17 hours. Registration and confirmation of attendance will take place on the 29th of September 2021. Time 14 hours to 17 hours. Venue the Healing Word Ministries International, the home of Camnet Television in Apex Hill, Kabulonga Road, Lusaka.
We'll look at the news in detail. Ministry of Health Permanent Secretary for Technical Services, Dr. Kennedy Malama, says government will soon announce more measures it was put in place to curb the further spread of the third wave of the COVID-19 in the country. Speaking at a media briefing in Lusaka, Dr. Malama says his ministry and the Disaster Management and Mitigation Unit convened an urgent meeting Monday afternoon to discuss the urgent interventions government should put in place to stop the spread of the pandemic, which has continued to be on the rise. Dr. Malama says the measures and recommendations made at the meeting have since been passed on to the Secretary to the Cabinet, Dr. Simon Miti, for possible consideration. The Health Permanent Secretary hints that with the alarming numbers of the COVID-19 cases and deaths being recorded in the country in the last 3 weeks, more than 400 deaths are expected to be recorded in the next 2 weeks. He says 1,388 new confirmed cases were recorded in the last 24 hours, 27 new deaths, the highest single most death ever recorded in the country.
Therefore, the situation we find ourselves in reminds us as a country that we cannot be complacent and expect to defeat COVID-19. We can't allow the current situation, punctuated by laxity in adherence to public health measures, and expect positive results. It's clear that the third wave we are confronted with today and the laxity we are seeing in adhering to the public health guidelines calls for urgent review if we are to save lives, the livelihoods and the economy of our country. Therefore, we meet this afternoon to review the measures which are currently in place to curb the COVID-19 pandemic so that we can come up with appropriate recommendations for immediate heightened implementation and enforcement countrywide in a multi-sectoral manner. And this multi-sectorality involves all stakeholders in this country, including line ministries, medicinal, religious, political, civic, corporate, institutional and organizational leaders at various levels, and more importantly, members of the public.
Still in health, the Medical for Quality Health Care in Zambia has urged government to take proactive steps against the emerging COVID-19 third wave pandemic. Organization Senior Public Relations Officer Vanessa Banda says there's urgent need to enforce the COVID-19 regulations of social distancing, wearing of face masks and washing hands, and regular use of hand sanitizers in all public places. Ms. Banda has further urged the government to put more stringent measures in borders and international airports in order to seal off the COVID-19 transmission points. He says Zambia cannot afford to have the third of the pandemic reach its peak point, looking at the current state of the health system in the country.
As Medical for Quality Health in Zambia, MQHZ, would like to urge government to take proactive steps against the emerging third wave of the COVID-19 pandemic in the country. It is important that we enforce the COVID-19 regulations of wearing of face masks, washing of hands, hand sanitizing and social distancing. The public must realize that the observance of these regulations remain key of keeping the dreaded disease at bay. As MQHZ, we further urge government to put more stringent measures in borders and international airports to help seal off COVID-19 transmission points. Zambia cannot afford to have the third wave of the COVID-19 reach its peak point, looking at the current health system in the country. With this said, we call on the Ministry of Health to increase the number of testing and vaccination points, because at the moment there's a small percentage of the population that has been vaccinated.
Zambia's first Republican president, Dr. Kenneth Kaunda, has been reported sick and admitted to Soko Medical Center in Lusaka. In a statement made available to the media, Office of the First Republican President, Administrative Assistant Roderick Ngolo says the medical team at the hospital is doing everything possible to ensure that Dr. Kaunda recovers. Mr. Ngolo adds that Zambia's founding father has requested all Zambians and the international community to remember him in their prayers. Dr. Kaunda is among the continent's few surviving liberation struggle heroes. Meanwhile, Patriotic Front PF cadres Monday afternoon attempted to disrupt a roadshow being undertaken by the opposition United Party for National Development UPND leader HAKAINDE HICHILEMA in Lusaka's KANYAMA constituency. Police had to use tear gas smoke to disperse the PF cadres while refraining UPND members who wanted to charge at them. The cadres were seen throwing stones and brandishing pangas as they were being pushed away by the police. A similar incident also took place at Intercity Bus Terminus, where cadres were seen throwing stones at the UPND roadshow, but police again quickly moved in to quell the possible clash. Police were deployed in numbers to offer security to the UPND and were seen on all routes of the road shows.
While the opposition alliance was conducting its political roadshow in Lusaka's KANYAMA constituency, Patriotic Front PF cadres, branching machetes and stones, attempted to disrupt the procession at a place called Mobile. Police offering security to the UPND quickly swung into action to prevent a physical confrontation between the two camps as UPND cadres seemed ready to charge at the PF cadres. Police had to use tear gas smoke to disperse the PF cadres. A similar incident also happened at Intercity Bus Terminus, where cadres could be seen throwing stones again. Police used tear gas canisters to disperse them. Other than the two incidents, the roadshow went on as planned. Mr. HICHILEMA interacted with KANYAMA residents throughout his tour. From Garden House, Mr. HICHILEMA passed through the KANYAMA-Makeni route before ending his tour with a drive-through in Lusaka's Chibolya compound. Reporting.
Various stakeholders have joined the call to end political violence being orchestrated by the United Party for National Development UPND and the Patriotic Front PF cadres in various parts of the country in this year's campaign period. Alliance for Accountability Advocate Zambia Media and Publicity Officer Shisha Chola says it is sad and disappointing to experience such barbaric practices in a democratic Christian nation like Zambia. Meanwhile, Jesuit Center for Theological Reflection Executive Director Father Alex Moyeve says it is worrying and disheartening that Zambia is slowly slipping into a situation of civil strife with rising spread of violent attacks between the two parties. In Hope for Human Rights Association has called on the Electoral Commission of Zambia, ECZ, to explain what constitutes a roadshow. Details in this report.
With exactly 58 days left before Zambia gets to decide what its next 5 years will look like, by voting for leaders of their choice in various capacities, the country has continued to witness high levels of unprecedented political violence, which has resulted in others losing parts of their bodies. While Zambia has continued to boast of being a Christian nation and one of the most peaceful countries in Africa, the levels of political violence being witnessed leaves much to be desired, and if left uncontrolled, Zambia risks losing its identity. This is why several stakeholders have joined the call to ending political violence by calling on leaders of the two political parties, that is the United Party for National Development UPND and the Patriotic Front PF, whose cadres have so far been linked to the political violence, to tone down their supporters, saying Zambia is bigger than the two political parties.
We further want to appeal to the political party leaders to avoid anything that is instilling fear in the electorates. If they continue perpetrating this violence, then it means they are trying to push for an agenda where there should be voter apathy.
And Alliance for Accountability Advocates Zambia Publicity Officer Chisha Chola has urged the Zambian police and the Electoral Commission of Zambia to quickly ensure that all those perpetrating political violence be dealt with without remorse or favor regardless of their political affiliation.
We'd love to strongly condemn the political violence that is happening with the Patriotic Front and the UPND. We'd love to remind these two political parties that we're living in a Christian and democratic nation, and such vices are hindrance to the people, to the electoral process, and of course, even as we're heading towards the elections on the 12th August 2021, we'd love to remind the political parties that of course we live under a constitution, and we have the Article 8 of the Zambian Constitution that reminds us of our principles and moral values, and these principles should be held religiously. We'd love to also urge the Electoral Commission of Zambia and Zambia Police that they should ensure that those perpetrating political violence should be brought to book.
And the Jesuit Center for Theological Reflection, JCTR, believes that it is possible to stop political violence if political leaders do not only stop at casually condemning violence, but also engage at a deeper level with their followers.
It is worrying and disheartening that Zambia is slowly slipping into a situation of civil strife, with rising spate of violent attacks between UPND and PF cadres in the run-up to the 12th August general elections. JCTR believes that it is possible to stop political violence if political leaders do not only stop at casually condemning violence, but also engage at a deeper level with their followers and honestly bring home and inculcate the message of non-violence, tolerance, mutual respect, and upholding for human dignity and sanctity of life.
The Zambia Center for Interparty Dialogue is concerned with sparks of political violence which has characterized this campaign period. We are saddened that innocent blood has been shed and property has been destroyed by unruly cadres from both the UPND and the Patriotic Front. Incidents of violence have been reported in places such as Lusaka and in Mpulungu. As a center, we would like to condemn these barbaric and Zambian acts, which must not be entertained at all costs. The perpetrators of this violence should face the wrath of the law.
Zambia would surely attain its vision of becoming a prosperous middle-income country by the year 2030 if political contestation is to be centered on the battle for ideas and how each supporter would contribute to making Zambia a better place to live in, unlike the prevailing situation of violence against opponents. Political violence will not at any point develop this country, but cripple the already struggling economy, hence the need to condemn the violence at all costs by all well-meaningful Zambians. Prudence Jota, reporting for Camnet TV News.
Meanwhile, Movement for Democratic Change, MDC President Felix Mutati has in the strongest terms condemned the political violence that has characterized the 2021 general election campaign period across the country. Mr. Mutati is also a member of the UPND Alliance, says politics must be centered on ideas unlike the prevailing situation of violence against opponents. He has cautioned that political violence, regardless of the perpetrator's affiliation, will only erode the entire foundation of multi-partyism which the country has fought so hard to attain and must therefore be condemned in its totality.
Political contestation must be about the battle for ideas and must not be about the battle to try and harm and induce violence. That clearly is not the Zambia that we want. Violence erodes the entire foundation of what this country has fought for, multi-partyism. Violence is violence. It doesn't matter your affiliation or who you are. We condemn violence in its totality. We celebrate that Zambia is a Christian nation. We go to church on Sunday. The moment we are out of those doors, we forget what we said in church. We pick up the pangas, the stones. Brother on brother, sister on sister. Is that the Zambia we want? Clearly no. So this violence must be condemned regardless of what party you belong to. We say no.
A book of condolences has been opened in Lusaka in honor of the late prominent Nigerian televangelist TB Joshua. This and more stories after the break.
Our achievements in the health sector. As the Patriotic Front government, we have recruited and deployed 27,000 nurses and other health personnel across the country to provide the much-needed healthcare, including the fight against COVID-19, child healthcare, as well as maternity care to all parts of the country. Vote for Edgar Chagwa Lungu and the PF that have brought you change.
In this fast-paced era of industrial boom and population growth, there is need to invest in smart ways of managing electricity and water consumption and reducing utility billing costs associated with the postpaid billing system. At Savenda Electronics, we manufacture right here in Zambia different types of high-quality smart electricity and water meters to customer specifications. Savenda Electronics water and electricity meters help you monitor your usage and gives notifications such as low units, tampering, low battery, and many other features. These easy-to-use meters makes it easier to buy units even in these COVID times and top up just from the comfort of your space. Favorable contract terms are available to both electricity and water utilities. For more details, get in touch with us on the following numbers: 0956 580 349 or 0977 498 318. Savenda Electronics, the real deal.
Every day for me means hard work. Going to sell my goods at the local market. To get more customers, I have my secret. Oracle Pure Glycerin. It's soft, smooth, and keeps my skin perfect. And my customers know it. Thank you, Oracle, for my perfect skin.
At Master Signs, our services range from outdoor, indoor signage such as billboards, banners, 3D light boxes, pylons, and neon signs. We are located at plot number 397A, Makeni Road, Lusaka, at Oryx Filling Station. For more details, call us on +260 967 100 090 or +260 966 999 981, or better still, email us at infomastersign@gmail.com. Master Sign, we will make it shine.
Zambia has embarked on an economic journey for individual financial emancipation, empowering its citizens through land acquisition and developing the nation through agriculture. This time, Zambians are coming together, taking it upon themselves with the help of government to develop this great nation by taking individual responsibility and ownership of this great nation. The economic revolution has started. There are thousands of Zambians with a can-do mindset who are resolute, unstoppable, full of confidence and conviction that Zambia's set time of favor for development is now. Don't be left out. This could be the time you have been waiting for. Camnet Television, in conjunction with the United Agrivision Consultancy Limited, will be hosting a national conference on becoming a millionaire through agriculture. Date: 1st October and 2nd October 2021. Charges: 750 kwacha per person per day, that includes lunch. A limited number of participants through Zoom have also been reserved. You can also be part of the conference from the comfort of your home by registering online via Zoom, joining the people who were born for greatness. Charges for participation via Zoom are only 300 kwacha per person. Time 0730 hours to 17 hours. Registration and confirmation of attendance will take place on the 29th of September 2021. Time 14 hours to 17 hours. Venue, the Healing Word Ministries International, the home of Camnet Television in Apex Hill, Kapalonga Road, Lusaka.
You're still watching Camnet News. Thank you so much for staying on. A book of condolences has been opened in Lusaka in honor of the late prominent Nigerian televangelist Prophet T.B. Joshua, who died hours after presiding over a program at Lagos-based mega church on Saturday. Prophet T.B. Joshua, the founder of the Synagogue Church of All Nations, passed away 1 week before his 58th birthday on the 16th of June 2021 after he spoke during the Emmanuel TV Partners meeting. Zambians from all walks of life have been seen pouring to render their condolences to the late man of God. Details in this.
A book of condolences has been opened in Lusaka in honor of the late prominent Nigerian televangelist Prophet T.B. Joshua, who died hours after presiding over a program at his Lagos-based mega church on Saturday. Prophet T.B. Joshua, the founder of the Synagogue Church of All Nations, passed away 1 week before his 58th birthday on the 6th of June 2021 after he spoke during the Emmanuel TV Partners meeting. Zambians from all walks of life have been seen pouring to render their condolences to the late man of God. They have described him as a compassionate preacher who touched people at different levels.
I remember him by the inspirational messages he used to give us as Christians, and above all, his generosity to the needy and to the vulnerable in the world.
He touched a lot of lives in so many different ways. We each have a personal experience of what it meant to either interact with him on TV, then there are those who had the privilege to actually meet him in person, but in any given opportunity that we had to interact with him, our lives were touched in one way or the other.
Organizers of the event, led by Pastor Victor Banda and Mr. Edwin Munkombwe, explains that they are in constant touch with the church in Nigeria for any updates.
This is the place where in Zambia, Lusaka, people are signing the book of condolences for the remembrance of our departed father to glory, Prophet T.B. Joshua, who we cannot even say a lot. The people around Zambia, the whole world, they have seen he was just preaching love, humanity, giving to the needy. He didn't choose which race, Muslim, Christians, the whole world. Even when you go for crusade outside, he lifted the banner of Africa.
You are confirming that he's not yet buried?
It can be, but we confirm until we get the exact from the scholar.
Actually, we are here reporting what we are being taught in synagogue. So besides synagogue, we cannot rely on it. Thank you.
Kalan Muchima reporting in Osaka.
Governance, Elections, Advocacy Research Services, Gears Initiative Zambia Executive Director MacDonald Jupenzi has called for a comprehensive bill of health for President Edgar Lungu to assure the nation that he is in good health following the sudden dizziness he suffered while officiating at the 45th Defense Day Sunday. The president had to abruptly leave the event after what transpired, but Mr. Jupenzi says, being the head of state, Zambians ought to be given assurance that the president is equal to the demanding pressure of his office. He says, as the country rather goes to the polls, Zambians need to be assured that if given a vote at the August 12th general elections, President Lungu will continue to discharge his duties without any doubts of his health from the citizens.
This is the second time that we are seeing the president being attacked by dizziness in the course of his work, his official duties. And the demand for this medical status is not malicious in any way. It is something that is supposed to be considered outside politics and outside trivialism, trivialization, because the country has had its own experiences of such kind of instances coming from the hundreds of our presidents.
In other news, a political scientist, Musiani Sichone, has expressed concern over the continued notion of certain individuals who have continued to allege that Zambia is a failed state. Speaking to Camnet TV in an interview, Mr. Sichone says the nation to be declared a failed state, there are several factors that need to be looked into, and that Zambia has not portrayed any of those. He has reiterated that no one can claim that government has no control over its territories because that is one of the factors of a failed state. He has since advised the concerned citizens who are fond of uttering such statements to desist, as it is in no way contributing to the country's development.
So I'd like to take this time to actually comment on people that are talking about Zambia being a failed state. No, it's a weak state, it's a fragile state. You know, when it comes to the study of politics, there are a number of issues that we look at for one to be considered a failed state. And failed states can be generally called weak states. There are a number of states that we can talk about. There are fragile states, there are crisis states, there are states that have just come from conflict, and then there are failed states which are so common to the common man who thinks a failed state is so on and so forth. But for a state to reach a state where it is failed, there are a number of issues that we need to look at. For example, like institutions of governance. Are they actually issuing binding decisions? Is there contestation over their legitimacy, and so on and so forth? And also, when you talk up in terms of a fragile state or a weak state or a failed or collapsed state, we can also talk in terms of, does the government actually have total control over all of its territory? And I don't think that is where Zambia is at right now. There are a number of issues where we need to focus on, but we need to stop this notion of saying Zambia is actually a failed state, because there are a number of issues that we need to focus on before we can actually say we are a failed state.
Attorney General Likando Kalaluka has applied to join the case where Chapter 1 Foundation Limited has petitioned President Edgar Lungu for assenting the Correctional Service Bill No. 35 of 2021, when his parliamentary mandate expired following the dissolution of Parliament. In this case, Chapter 1 Foundation wants a conservatory order staying the operation of the Zambia Correctional Service Act No. 35 of 2021 and restoring the Prisons Act, Chapter 97 of the Zambian laws, pending determination of the petition. In an affidavit filed in the court, Chief Advocate in the Attorney General Chambers, Josiah Siamachela, states that President Lungu has been wrongly joined to the proceedings of the case because no civil action can be taken. Simachela submits that President Lungu, who has been sued for performing his public duties, be disjoined from the case, and the Attorney General be the one to be petitioned. Details in this report.
The new petition by Chapter 1 Foundation against President Edgar Lungu, seeking an order to quash the Zambia Correctional Service Act No. 37 of 2021, as it was assented to by the President after the dissolution of Parliament, has taken a new twist, with the Attorney General requesting the court to misjoin the head of state because he was wrongly petitioned. In this case, Chapter 1 Foundation wants a conservatory order staying the operation of the Zambia Correctional Service Act No. 35 of 2021 and restoring the Prisons Act, Chapter 97 of the laws of Zambia, pending determination of the petition. The petitioner further wants a declaration that to the extent that the Zambia Correctional Service Bill No. 35 of 2021 was assented to by the President after the dissolution of Parliament on May 13, 2021, the Zambia Correctional Service Act No. 37 of 2021 was not law enacted by Parliament of Zambia. Therefore, it is null and void. The Foundation states in its submission that after the dissolution of Parliament on the 13th of May 2021, the head of state legislative authority conferred by Article 63(1) of the Constitution to assent to bills passed by the National Assembly expired. It argues that President Edgar Lungu breached Articles 81 and 92 of the Constitution on 19th May 2021 when he purportedly to assent to the Zambian Correctional Service Bill number 35 of 2021. However, the Attorney General, who has applied to be joined to this petition, submits that President Lungu, who is a public officer and sued for performing his public duties, has been wrongly joined as a party, hence must be removed from this petition. The Attorney General submits that the petition by Chapter 1 Foundation, dated the 10th of June 2021, has been brought to their attention and notes that President Lungu has been sued for performing his duties in his capacity as President of the Republic of Zambia. The state argues that the petition clearly indicates that it is anchored on alleged breaches of the Constitution by the head of state during the exercise of his public duties as President of the Republic of Zambia and not in his personal capacity. Further adds that President Lungu has been wrongly joined to these proceedings of the case because no civil action can be instituted against him because he is occupying the office of the President. The state has since submitted that the Constitutional Court has the power to remove the President from these proceedings and instead join the Attorney General to be the respondent in this petition. Miriam Kemba, reporting for Camnet TV News.
Well, this is Camnet News. We take another set of commercials. Join me shortly for international and sports news.
From time immemorial, we have had different types of lighting options, from those that can burn down our investments in minutes to those that dig holes in our pockets due to constant replacement and huge consumption of our ZESCO units. Savenda Electric introduces the new and advanced electric bulb with cutting-edge technology of LED that has low power consumption, gives out bright white light, and lasts up to 25,000 hours. Savenda Electric manufactures all types of LED light, like plastic LED fluorescent tubes, down lights, ceiling lights, outdoor fittings, and solar street lights made to customer specifications. Let's live on the bright side of life by choosing the wide range of Savenda electric lighting solutions that are available in all leading stores and supermarkets countrywide. For orders, call 0962-642-490 or email jnbunda@savenda.com or pchabula@savenda.com.
Through the Link Zambia 8000 project, the country has seen increased economic activities as producers no longer face difficulties in accessing markets. Vote for Edgar Chagwa Lungu and the PF that have brought you change.
Zambia has embarked on an economic journey for individual financial emancipation, empowering its citizens through land acquisition and developing the nation through agriculture. This time, Zambians are coming together, taking it upon themselves with the help of government to develop this great nation by taking individual responsibility and ownership of this great nation. The economic revolution has started. There are thousands of Zambians with a can-do mindset who are resolute, unstoppable, full of confidence and conviction that Zambia's set time of favor for development is now. Don't be left out. This could be the time you have been waiting for. Camnet Television, in conjunction with the United Agrivision Consultancy Limited, will be hosting a national conference on becoming a millionaire through agriculture. Date 1st October and 2nd October 2021. Charges 750 kwacha per person per day, that includes lunch. A limited number of participants through Zoom have also been reserved. You can also be part of the conference from the comfort of your home by registering online via Zoom, joining the people who were born for greatness. Charges for participation via Zoom are only 300 kwacha per person. Time 0730 hours to 17 hours. Registration and confirmation of attendance will take place on the 29th of September 2021. Time 14 hours to 17 hours. Venue the Healing Word Ministries International, the home of Camnet Television in Abex Hill, Kabulonga Road, Lusaka.
was born in Mwengwa in a grass-thatched house. I went to school barefoot and then to secondary school, university camp, all of these on government bursary, on the sponsorship of the people of Zambia. Many people ask me questions. Why have you continued to seek public office? You've been arrested 15 times. This fight is not about HAKAINDE. It's about 18 million Zambians who want a better life. I'm standing for the presidency of this country because I know and I believe that this country is so rich and yet its people live in poverty. I am standing for that child to have an opportunity to go to school the way I did myself. It's time for change. Zambians have suffered enough. I'm HAKAINDE HICHILEMA. I invite you to take my hand. Together, we will build a better life for every Zambian.
Welcome back. Thank you for staying on. In international news, Benjamin Netanyahu's 12-year tenure as Israeli Prime Minister has come to an end as the country's parliament on Sunday approved a new coalition government led by right-wing nationalist Naftali Bennett. Bennett, the head of the ultra-nationalist party that controls 6 seats in the 120-seat Knesset, was sworn in as Prime Minister after the Parliament backed the new coalition government by a razor-thin margin of 60 votes to 59. In other news, still on the international front, an officer and a soldier of Nkoa Toma military camp situated in the economic capital Bata, Equatorial Guinea, are on a trial for negligent homicide. The information is according to the indictment read on Saturday evening on state radio and television by the military prosecutor Alejandro Mitogo. Camp Base Head Lieutenant Colonel Valentin Zhang and Corporal Jose Antonio Obama appeared in court before the military court for homicide, damage, fire negligence and punishable imprudence causing death. Here's a roundup of international stories.
Benjamin Netanyahu has spent 2.5 years and 4 elections fighting for his political life, desperate to stay on as Israel's prime minister. When the end came, it was quick and by the slimmest of margins, an abstention leaving the votes tallied at 60 to 59 against him. Israel's longest-serving prime minister, whose carefully curated image as its indispensable leader, had to be told to give up his seat, swapping it instead for that of the leader of the opposition, the outgoing incumbent Yair Lapid, only too happy to make way. Naftali Bennett. But it was Lapid's partner in coalition, Naftali Bennett, who took the oath first to replace Netanyahu. It was the second time he'd been at the podium. Earlier he began the day's proceedings, or tried to, as Prime Minister designate. Even by the standards of the often rowdy Knesset, this was a concerted campaign to prevent him from speaking. In between, he thanked Netanyahu, promised to work for all Israelis, and sought to defend his right-wing credentials against the attackers.
Renewing the nuclear deal with Iran is a mistake that will once again lend legitimacy to one of the most discriminatory and violent regimes in the world. Israel will not allow Iran to be equipped with nuclear weapons.
From Netanyahu, an early taste of what to expect of him as opposition leader. Fake right, he called him.
Bennett and fake Yamin.
He said Bennett couldn't be trusted to stand up not just to Iran, but to a US administration that wanted to return to the nuclear deal.
So I have a message. I have a message to those who are joyful in Tehran and to those who do as they say in Hezbollah and Hamas. The opposition in Israel will have a loud and clear voice. And I have another message for them, just as important.
We'll be back soon.
If there's one thing that's characterized recent Israeli politics, it's division, bitter and intractable, plunging this country into a political crisis that's lasted for more than 2 years. For all the talk of that changing with this changed government, Netanyahu, in the manner of his going, demonstrated just what a powerful force that division remains. In the Knesset, there was the briefest of handshakes. On Monday, Netanyahu is refusing to hold the traditional public ceremony to accompany the handover of power. The other big break with convention is the place in this coalition for a Palestinian-Israeli party, the United Arab List of Mansour Abbas, who's demanding tangible benefits for his voters.
What we are doing is a big sacrifice for our people, our present and future. We know that this move entails lots of dangers and difficulties that we can't deny, but the opportunity is big. for changing the balance of power at the Knesset and the upcoming government.
But for many Israelis, the biggest adjustment, even for the narrow majority who voted 4 times to move on from him, will be in getting used to an Israel not led by Benjamin Netanyahu, who has so dominated not just politics, but life here. Netanyahu is making it clear he's not ready to move on. He will fight to splinter this new government and return. Bennett, Lapid and the rest will have to hold their divergent ideologies at bay, their coalition together, and demonstrate that they can govern and Israel can do without its now former Prime Minister. Harry Fawcett, Al Jazeera, West Jerusalem.
On trial for negligent homicide in Equatorial Guinea, an officer and a soldier of Nkoatoma military camp situated in the economic capital Bata. According to the indictment read on Saturday evening on state radio and television by military prosecutor Alejandro Mitogo, Lieutenant Colonel Valentin Nzang Ega, basehead, and Corporal Jose Antonio Bama Nsue are in military court for homicide, damage, fire, negligence, and punishable imprudence causing death due to at least 3 devastating explosions on the army base and its many surrounding residential areas that killed 107 people and injured 615 on March 7th. The powerful blast literally ravaged the campsite after a poorly controlled fire set the arsenal and armory on the compound ablaze, consequently razing the buildings of the camp housing of the Special Forces soldiers and gendarmes, as well as their families, as it also gutted or flattened numerous houses within proximity. The prosecutor's office is requesting a sentence of 70 years imprisonment, and President Teodoro Obiang Nguema has announced the opening of an investigation.
Well, that's it for international news. We now take our focus to sports news. TEULINGS netball coordinator Felicitas Chilinda has disclosed that the TEULINGS Youth Sports Challenge has continued to attract a number of athletes from communities surrounding the OIDC Zambia Sports Development Center. Chilinda says games hosted on Saturday, 11th June, saw teams like Olymp Africa, Matero, OIDC, Shazanga, Zanimone, and Kabanana coming to compete as the league enters week 5. Chilinda added that athletes keep improving the skill of netball in what they stand as a good chance of being selected to play for the national team. And Olymp African netball remains on top of the log standings. The team has in the past games continued to record wins, and during the 2020 TEULING Youth Sports Challenge Grand Finale, it was crowned champions. Meanwhile, during Saturday's TEULING Youth Sports Challenge, the OIDC also hosted beach volleyball, handball, taekwondo. The sports discipline has athletes from different towns who came to compete. Well, that sporting item ends our news this evening. The headlines once again. Police fight with Patriotic Front cadres in KANYAMA after an attempt to disrupt HAKAINDE HICHILEMA's roadshow. Health authorities to impose stiffer health guidelines in view of the increased COVID-19 cases. KK hospitalized. In international news, an officer and soldier in Equatorial Guinea are on trial for fiery manslaughter. And in sports news, TEULINGS netball gaining ground in Zambia. Well, that's it for the news, but let's look at the Camnet verse for the day, and it's coming from Psalms 91, verse 1 to 2, and it reads, "The one who lives under the protection of the Most High dwells in the shadows of the Almighty. I will say to the Lord, my refuge, my fortress, my God, in whom I trust." Well, that's all we could accommodate for you on the news desk this evening. My name is Sharon Kalimbula. Thank you so much for choosing us. Remember to ensure that you observe the health measures put in place to avoid the spread of the COVID-19. Good night.